Hi Akshay, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Arijit. How have you been? Long time.
Yeah, it has been a long time.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, meet my friend Akshay. He's a fantastic human being as well as very talented. He left Google to do something very interesting for the
love of good music. It's a music company that we run. It's been 5 years. It's called Big Band Theory, and we've been working since last 5 years. And we're mainly curators, so we started off with curating live music, but then eventually with time we started curating pipe music. And well, yes, it's been about, like I said, 5 years. It's a journey of more than 2,000 shows now across India, more than 14 cities. We've had the pleasure of working with one of the best artists of the country and venues. So yeah, it's going on as far as the passion is alive. We are kicking it and we are liking it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So today we are going to talk about some of the history from the rock music and all, and how he's passionate. So I want to know what he knows, and I'm pretty sure that you guys will be interested too. Yeah, he wanted to promote the scene of indie music in India, and I personally believe that this was a like fantastic idea. Actually, आज का जो एपिसोड है उसमें हम मेजरली बात करने वाले हैं अबाउट इंडिया में और भी म्यूजिक, रॉक म्यूजिक और इन सब चीज़ों का पहले से सीन रहा है और कैसा वो सब हिस्ट्री. और तो हमारी वैसे मुलाकात बहुत दिनों से नहीं हुई थी, तो ऑन अ टेलीफोनिक कन्वर्सेशन यस्टरडे अक्षय ने बोला कि यार ऐसा ऐसा चीज़ है, मैंने रिसर्च किया था और इस पे बहुत सारी चीज़ें. आई थिंक इट्स लाइक अ फैंटास्टिक आइडिया एंड आई वुड लाइक रियली इंटरेस्टेड टू हियर दिस. तो मेरे को लगा कि मेरी ऑडियंस जो होगी वो भी सुनना पसंद करेगी एंड दे वुड लाइक टू नो मोर अबाउट द एवोल्यूशन ऑफ म्यूजिक और कहाँ और बहुत सारी चीजें हुई है. तो अगर आपको वाकई में आप इंटरेस्टेड हो, प्लीज राइट यस इन द कमेंट सेक्शन. और हम लोग और भी बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजों के बारे में बात करेंगे which because Akshay is like very passionate about music and how it's though he doesn't play any instrument.
Yes, nothing, zero.
Like shakers के अलावा. I remember last time हमने पिछले साल एक वो कौन सा वीडियो शूट किया था and you were like playing a shaker.
Big project. Yes. Yes. That was like a bottle and I had a drumstick and I was just giving a rhythm like tuck tuck and I managed to mess that up as well. So you know how good a musician I am. You know.
But ये जो पैशन है आपका, why not do something for the music and why not do something for जो बाकी आर्टिस्ट है. This speaks in itself and
absolutely. Before I got into this, Arijit, you know, एक चीज मेरे दिमाग में बहुत क्लियर थी जो you know जैसे आप कोई भी नया प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट करते हैं, you research a little about it. तो जब मैं अपनी रिसर्च कर रहा था कि हाँ भी मुझे क्या करना है, I had a job at that point of time and all that. So I was very clear with one thing: if you're getting into any art, alright, and you want to make your living out of it, you have to be very clear. I am getting into this as an artist, or am I getting into this as a business mind? So because I'm not an artist, the answer was very clear for me. You know, I'm getting into this as a business mind. You know, and but the intentions were very, I would say, honest. You know, of getting into it, because जो हमें promote करना था वो हमें promote करना था original music. You know, artists that are making their own music, that are producing their own music. And ऐसे artists के लिए it is a tougher world, because you know in India the majority of the music that is consumed is Bollywood. और इस music को हम alternate music बुलाते हैं. It is an alternate music, you know. This is not the
mainstream.
It is not the mainstream music. So you know, though this was more challenging, but that is why it had more fun in it, maybe.
Yeah.
So yes. So while I got into this, you know, जब हमने इसके बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ना शुरू किया, what are the major bands in India and all that, then eventually it led me to, you know,
search for more things like
you know, inquire myself first that you know यार ये क्या हुआ होगा, ये कैसे शुरू हुआ होगा पूरा. जैसे क्लासिकल, शास्त्रीय संगीत, फोक संगीत, you know, क्लासिकल के बारे में
बहुत बात होती है.
इतनी डीप है, इतनी डीप रूट्स हैं that you know कि हमारे पास ऑलमोस्ट हमें जर्नल्स, बुक्स हमें कितना मिल जाएगा, ग्रंथों में तक लिखा हुआ है, यू नो. तो बट दिस इज वन वर्ल्ड जिसके बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन बहुत ही लिमिटेड उसमें अवेलेबल है. आई वुड से लिमिटेड ऑल्सो एन ओवर स्टेटमेंट कि अवेलेबल नहीं है ज़्यादा. सो आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग अबाउट इट, यू नो, एंड वॉट एवर आई रेड इज नॉट अ रिसर्च, बिकॉज it was there, but I had to make a little more effort to reach to that information, to reach to certain rare images that we'll probably show in this series, to reach to certain bullet points that led to the evolution of music.
अच्छा, वो सब ठीक है, but ये मूंछों का क्या राज है?
मूंछों का मुझे का ये राज है कि मैं बहुत समय पहले एक्चुअली मैं हर साल एक सोलो ट्रिप करता हूँ एंड आई हैड गॉन टू लद्दाख. दिस वाज अबाउट 2 years ago. तो वो क्या है कि मैं अपनी बाइक में गया था, अकेला गया था देहरादून से लद्दाख एंड बैक. तो व्हेन यू कम बैक आप पूरे रॉ, पूरी दाढ़ी मुझे बड़ी हुई, यू नो वैसा होता है एंड ऑल दैट. एंड यू नो विद गाइस इज दैट व्हेन यू शेव इट ऑल ऑफ यू लुक लाइक अ किड. सो आई वाज लाइक यार यू नो देयर शुड बी एक मेमोरी रहनी चाहिए. एक्चुअली किड वाला पार्ट हटा देना. तो मैंने वंस यू कम बैक यू नो यू आर ऑल रॉ एंड यू नो
मैं ये वाला बात भी रख लूंगा कि एक्चुअली किड वाला पार्ट हटा.
यार नहीं यार नहीं प्लीज. तो वंस यू कम बैक आपको एक वो था, मुझे एक वो था दैट यू नो दिस हैज बीन अ लाइफ टाइम सॉर्ट ऑफ अ मेमोरी फॉर मी. सो उसके रिमेन्स कुछ ना कुछ रहे मेरे साथ, यू नो. So ever since then it has been there.
तो मेरे को एक ये भी लगता है कि जैसे आप थोड़ा दाढ़ी मूछ नहीं रखते हो, लाइक आप बहुत ज्यादा यंग लगते हो देखने में एंड यू अप्रोच पीपल फॉर डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ ऐसा सीरियस प्रोजेक्ट. ये बच्चा है, इसको कौन दे रहा है थोड़ा दाढ़ी मूछ रख के जा रहे हो. बोले कि हमारी तो ऐसा उम्र हमारा बहुत हो गया, 50 से हमारी उम्र का पता नहीं.
काम सीरियस होना हो, हमारी लोग सीरियस है. बट यस अनफॉर्चुनेटली समवेयर दैट्स ट्रू. बट अगेन दैट वाज नॉट द इंटेंशन. ऐसा कभी कुछ था नहीं कि इस रीजन से मैं मूछें रखूं अपनी. बट ये है कि हाँ थोड़ा चेंजेस होते रहते हैं. क्या पता 2 साल बाद अगेन आई गेट क्लीन शेवन एंड यू नो एंड तब अच्छा भी लगेगा अगर लोग बच्चा बुलाएंगे. अब आज के दिन अगर कोई आपको बच्चा बुलाए तो आप कॉम्प्लीमेंट यू नो. So yes, that is how it is. And तो ये है राज इनका. बाकी a lot of people say कि I've been inspired from Freddie Mercury and this and that, but ऐसा नहीं है, unfortunately नहीं है. Freddie Mercury से मुझे इंस्पायर होना है तो मैं उसकी गायकी से होता तो not the mustaches for sure. So the Western music in India has been there ever since the early 90s. How these rich rajas and the maharajas and rich people would actually travel outside of India to different countries, to the UK and to other countries, and they would hear these awesome blues musicians, they would hear these awesome jazz artists, and उनको मजा आता था सुन के. But and when they would come back again, this was sort of a snob appeal. दिखाने के लिए एक चीज थी ये बहुत बढ़िया.
और पैसा उनके पास था.
और पैसा उनके पास था. So they would actually invite these artists who would come to India and play. And I'm talking about 1920s, 30s and the 40s. Right? 40s फिर भी बहुत लेट हो गया. 20s and 30s I'm talking about. Right? So this is back when the Western music started. This is to which it dates back to. And then a little bit of jazz concept started happening in India. Now, thanks to the Anglo-Indian communities of cities like Calcutta, for example. Rich culture, you know, Park Street में आप walk कर रहे हो, you know, there's a band playing to the right, to the left, and you know, it was lovely. It was the atmosphere was lovely in those days I'm talking about, right? So अब इससे हुआ ये कि जब in the 20s and the 30s जब लोग देखते थे कि हाँ भी bands इंडिया में आ रहे हैं, play कर रहे हैं, they started picking up this knack, right? And जो भी लोग इसको pick करते थे, these were either Anglo-Indians, right? Or people who are coming from English speaking families or more westernized families. क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान में उस वक्त हम बहुत ही ऑर्थोडॉक्स थे. With all due respect, there is nothing wrong in that, but I'm talking about the 90s, 20s and the 1930s. Right? So the belief was a little more orthodox. You know, Western music was considered as not probably something, you know, because eventually जब बाद में आया तो you know what was it? Rock music was about having long hair and consuming drugs and this and that. You know, वो सब रहा है. और वो सब इंडिया में नहीं रहा है. Globally, this is a reputation unfortunately that has had back in the days, right? So people started picking up that knack, right? And slowly and gradually jazz groups started forming in India, right? And now a lot of people say that jazz के बाद जो major genre आया, you know, इंडिया में जो इंडिया में नहीं globally जो popular हुआ, that was rock and roll. But people miss out on one major genre which is called the roots of rock and roll, and that was the beat music. That was hitting very well in the mid 60s era, and this was the starting of the beautiful era of Western music in India, because this was the time when that typical setup of 3 guitarists, 1 drummer, guitarist also singing songs, beat bands, beat boy bands started happening. And all of a sudden they were everywhere in India. major hubs were like Calcutta and Delhi. So इधर क्या हुआ ये these bands started developing. When they were bands, then venues started inviting them, and वो gradually वो चलता रहा.
Okay.
Kung Fu Rising. There's a very popular song called There Might Be Kung Fu Rising. Tan, 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 tan. This popular tune, again created by Biddu.
Okay.
Alright.
That's interesting.
Biddu is the Grammy Award winner.
Biddu is Indian.
Biddu is Indian.
That's strange.
He was settled. Later he went to I think UK. He settled in UK later on. But again, born and brought up, matured in India. Right. This is the product of India. Right. And the Jets from Bombay. Alright. I'll just take a couple of names and the cities from which they were from. There was the Jets from Bombay, the Cavaliers from Calcutta, the Trojans, the front runners. They were playing around the country. Again, I would say it again, I'm talking about the 1960s. There was a band that was touring the country and playing Western music. How interesting is that? How glorified they might have felt,
Yeah.
And there was the Trojans and, and Biddu, जो मैंने आपको बताया कि was a part of the Jets and all that. He went on to become India's first international star. Another reason, why there were so many bands coming from Calcutta. As I said, one of the reasons was that it had a lot of Anglo-Indians. But the air of Calcutta had a cosmopolitanness in it. People were modern. They wanted to go out.
Yeah.
It was a hub of corporate, good jobs were there. English-speaking people were there, so it was easy for that sort of music to grow. Now, again, jazz, like I said, is considered to be the first pop of the world. It could be the first pop of the world because when jazz was coming in, that was also the time when gramophones were coming in, right? So it could spread easily. Gramophones could take jazz to a lot more people.
Yeah, by the way, most of the people, if they don't understand like a pop music, the pop music is basically popular music.
Popular music.
So, जिस time पे जो भी music popular होता, that is like pop music of that era.
Right. And having said that, the first ever pop group of the country was the Jets.
Oh.
Yes.
So they played jazz.
And 1964.
1964.
No, jazz. They did not play jazz. Pop music again. मतलब if you go to Rajasthan, जो वहाँ का folk music है, that is also the pop music.
Well, that's very popular.
So, yes, because it's popular out there, So they were playing, Jets were playing some.
But mostly उसको जैसे अगर हम कोई region में कोई वो होता तो we call them like folk music, right?
हाँ, मतलब देखिए pop is just an English term का label given to it.
Kind of.
And folk music again, music for people. Folks, that's all folk
Yeah.
music, So it is the music for people. And so that is how it all started back in the early 60s. So when we moved into a little bit of, the era of mid 60s, तब हुआ ये कि a lot more people wanted to consume music. A lot more people wanted to, because it is getting popular now. अब लोगों को वो हो रहा है. Like for example, jazz का core era was the 1940s. But 50s onwards the beat culture started, because 10 साल का एक generation gap आ जाता है. By the mid 50s jazz music became पापाओं का music. तो मेरे पापा सुना करते थे. That sort of nature now again. That's how it's considered. The early 60s also had a culture of lot of vinyls, those LPs and the EPs coming in. And the radios happening, western music आने एक आध limited उसमें slot होगा जिसमें एक आध घंटे का जिसमें वो आएगा. Early 50s में something very interesting happened. The then I&B Information and Broadcast Minister of this country, B.V. Keskar, he banned everything on the radio.
Wow.
Western music, even cricket commentary was banned because, according to him, this was vulgarity.
Oh.
Okay. ये हमारी एक संस्कृति खराब कर रहा था. So only and only classical and शास्त्रीय संगीत, folk music could be played on radios. The Western music was banned.
लगभग कितना साल के लिए?
That information is unknown to me, but it was banned for quite some time. But वो कहते हैं कि पानी अपना रास्ता ढूंढता है. people started smuggling vinyls. किसी के कोई parents, again, किसी rich के parents जा रहे हैं बाहर, they would get something from it. Radio also found a way. Back in the days, I think Sri Lanka was called Ceylon. Ceylon, Ceylon, something it was called.
Okay.
And there was a radio called Radio Ceylon something. Yeah. So, India में कहीं जगह उसका transmission catch करता था. So people would listen to that. You like shh की आवाजें आती थी and people would listen to that, right? So that is how people were consuming the music, right? This is about consumption. Now, like I said, we were into the mid 60s and all that, Now things are evolving a little bit. Now there are concerts happening, there are shows happening. Look, at that point of time, we did not have equipments. राइट मतलब एक्चुअली ऐसा था कि एक एम्पलीफायर पड़ा है, गिटार भी उसमें जा रहा है, वोकल्स भी उसमें जा रहे हैं, इट माइट नॉट बी अ प्रोफेशनल साउंड बट इट वाज अ वेरी पैशनेट साउंड एंड देयर वाज अ डिफरेंट फील अबाउट इट एंड पीपल वर देयर who wanted to be there, they were there. Then 1969 happened, Woodstock happened, that changed the entire definition of the music in the world, right? And from what I have heard and what I have known, the documentaries were played, uski koi after movies were played in India. I'm talking about Bombay, Taj ke bahar, they were happening. By the way, Taj Mahal, the famous Taj Mahal hotel in Bombay, has had a wonderful journey for musicians. And there's in fact a book on it called The Foxtrot Taj Mahal, something like that it's called. Maybe we can give them the description in the description, for the people to know what it is. And so the journey has been immense and it has been beautiful, right? So then came the real, the first ever rock band in India, for example. Now let's talk about this. The first ever rock band in India, and I'm going to show you the picture of them jamming and, I'm going to show you the picture of them, it's sort of a picture of, again, a black and white picture, because we're talking about 1968. This picture is from the Park Street, Calcutta, alright? And so the Great Bear was the first ever rock band formed in India. The Great Bear. It was formed in 1968 in Calcutta. उस वक्त from I think the mid 60s or the early 60s until the 1970s.
मतलब इतना टाइम म्यूजिक अलग अलग टाइप का बैंड्स आने के बाद में 68 में पहली बार भी रॉक बैंड आया.
पहला रॉक बैंड आया, yes, because the rock era was starting back then. 1960s में ही rock music actually आया. Pick up UK. One tiny piece of land. I mean, The Who, Pink Floyd, Beatles. I mean, you name the best band back in the days, they were all coming from there. एक हमें लोग पागल हो गए थे, how is this happening? इतनी छोटी सी India is probably, I don't know how many times the size of that. I think उस वक्त, ITC, there's a very popular brand, not brand, a company actually. ITC, right? Imperial Tobacco Company. ITC had a cigarette जिसको बुलाया जाता था Simla, SIMLA. So Simla as a brand was a sponsor of one of the first beat contests of this country, which was called the Simla Beat Contest. Okay, now Simla Beat Contest में bands from all across the country would take part in it, come and play back to back on a stage. It was a proper concerts, like a proper contest, like a एक रॉक बैंड अवार्ड्स हो रहा है जैसे जो आज की डेट में होता रहता है.
और कितना मुश्किल हुआ होगा to spread this message across the country.
Imagine, like छोटे I'll see if I have an image of that too. Here it is. I am showing you a very very rare poster here, all right? And this is what it says: Beat fans! ! Beat it fast for this year's biggest beat bonanza. Second Simla Beat Contest Finals. Then there's a brand of Shimla there. I'm taking the name of the bands. The battling of 5,000 rupees.
और बहुत होता है 5,000 रुपए उस ज़माने में.
The winning band will get 5,000 rupees, and the combustible wide ranges, Psychos, Beethovens, and tickets are priced at rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees, 7 rupees, 10 rupees, and this is a poster that tells you what it was, the coreness of it, the overall look and feel of it will tell you. Again, these might not be professional efforts, but
this was pretty
passionate.
professional. Very.
This was a passionate effort. you know, with the kind of setup we had, with the kind of limited resources we had, वो Ahuja के speakers होंगे, उसमें करते थे play, you know. Today the system is being used for a concert. Tomorrow the same system will be used for a jagran or a wedding. You know, it is of course. Later people came in, like the Pro Audios today. Back then was called something else. You know, it started back then. They were the first ones to start the whole sense of sound, taking sound professionally. No, everything happens step by step. अभी जब हम बात कर रहे थे, अभी 10, 15, 20 साल पहले लोग आर्टिस्ट को सीरियसली नहीं ले रहे थे. अब जब लेना शुरू कर दिया, जब ये कॉन्सर्ट्स वगैरह, कॉन्टेस्ट वगैरह हो रहे हैं, नाउ कम्स द टाइम टू टेक द ऑडियो सीरियसली. सो केम पीपल, you know, and all that started happening. So from the mid 60s until 72, all right, the exact year is unknown when this started, the Simla Beat concert, but ITC conducted this was an annual contest that was named after their cigarette because of the branding, which was called the Simla Beat. Started happening. In fact, every year there was also a compilation that was released, you know, of the band who would win, and those sort of things would happen. So Simla Beat happened, right? And again, this was a new air, you know, people, the youth was like awestruck. Wow, ये क्या हो रहा है भाई हमारे देश में? It is beautiful. Again, hubs being Bombay, Calcutta, these were the major hubs. But still, there's a long way to go right now. There were certain bands, and again, I think this was 1967. The first ever all-girl band of India came into the picture. It was called the Ladybirds. It was a beat group, right? And these people would play and people would go bonkers, you know, like there's somewhere a story.
उस ज़माने में तो इतनी सारी लड़कियाँ स्टेज पे देखो वैसे ही भाड़ जाते होंगे लोग.
I think somewhere there's a story, and I think I'm getting it right. It was the same band. You know, the band is playing on the stage. All of a sudden, कोई एक बंदा ऊपर balcony से धाड़ नीचे गिरा. You know, because there was so much of rush. And poor girls are actually banned from playing at a couple of venues because people are like, yeah, when you play, then people go mad. You know, so we can't have you here. You know, sort of a thing. So yes, the Ladybirds, the first ever beat all-girl band in India, were formed. You see, when the culture starts developing, हर चीज का एक culture आता है. Now, then came a magazine, okay, which was called the Junior Statesman. Junior Statesman was one of the first magazine to write about Western music in India. They started this culture of music journalism, so-called, you know. Another very popular incident, again popular, it's not popular, should have been popular incident, was there's a band called the Jets. They were playing at a place called the Slip Disc in Bombay. And they're covering one of the legend songs, kuch gaane ga rahe hain, and then all of a sudden they see some 2-3 white guys coming in. And somebody came and whispered in their ear, you know what, this is the Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
And they were like, what? So Led Zeppelin, 1971, came to India. It had Jimmy Page and Robert Plant as well, who from amongst the people who walked in. And then somebody came and told him, you know what, these people want to jam. Can they jam? They're like, yeah, come on, like you don't have to ask it. And you know, another very interesting thing, कि वो Slip Disc में क्यों आए? Why was this band happening at this place called the Slip Disc only? Because Slip Disc in 1971 was the only place in Bombay that had a drum kit.
Oh.
The only venue that had a drum kit. You know?
Gajah.
So, you know, these are small little things. The Jets actually jammed with them. And I think if I'm not wrong, the Jets was also the first ever band to have a Fender Stratocaster.
Oh.
And they won one of the beat contests only because of that, because of the sound. There were bands that were much better as well, but well, you know, that's how the
sound ही नहीं आ रहा होगा.
Yes, that's how the sound was. I'm displaying this news article also that says Led Zeppelin land briefly in Bombay, and this will give you an idea of about a small interview with these legendary artists.
So anyways, काफी सारे bands ने काफी सारा कुछ किया है, music was flourishing.
Absolutely, yes.
जब हम लोग बड़े हो रहे तो ऑलरेडी काफी सारे भैया लोग थे, मतलब जो काफी खतरनाक म्यूजिक प्ले करते, तो तब तक मतलब चरम सीमा पे था, मतलब ना ऐसा जो म्यूजिक है रॉक और उस टाइप का जो सारी चीजें होती है. और उसका एक बड़ा अमेजिंग पार्ट ये था कि उस टाइम में जब आप बड़े हो रहे हो तो आप देख रहे हो कि देयर आर लाइक अमेजिंग म्यूजिशियंस अराउंड यू हु कैन एक्चुअली प्ले म्यूजिक. समझ रहे हो मेरी बात?
The real music, yes.
Who can actually play music.
Yes.
And that is like amazing, क्योंकि अभी का टाइम पे क्या हो रहा है कि then there are so many people who are trying to get into production. but they can't play music or they are not even interested in playing music. बोले सीधा सीधा म्यूजिक प्रोडक्शन करने का, गाना बनाने का, हिट होने का है और
आगे बढ़ देगा।
ऐसा थोड़ी होता है।
Right, absolutely. And you know, इस वक्त नॉर्थ ईस्ट में एक अलग ही एयर चल रही थी। You know, since we're talking about this, North East had a different air. There's a guy called Louis Major. This guy, we're talking about passionate musicians. This guy, every year, I think on Bob Dylan's birthday, would do a tribute concert to Bob Dylan. This went on for about 20-30 years. Every year, he would do it. And they had the Northeast had its own air. You know?
वो हमेशा ही मतलब ऐसा रहा है कि बहुत ज़्यादा लोग हैं वहाँ पे. So if you know, I was brought up in Arunachal Pradesh.
Okay, wow.
So what happened there कि भले ही बहुत ज़्यादा well educated नहीं होगा वहाँ पे कोई बंदा,
right.
और हो सकता है वो कि खेती वेती में काम करता हो, you know, like वो सब चीज़ें करता हो, but उसको पता नहीं भयंकर तिलस में गिटार बजाना आता है. अगर मैं मान लो कि अपना घर से ऐसा 10 कदम यही चला गया ऐसा,
right.
गिटार ऐसा टांग करके, तो अरे तूने नया गिटार लिया गया, 10 बंदे मिलेंगे रास्ते में रोक के, अरे दिखते जा रहा, मतलब ऐसा खतरनाक वहाँ पे है, मतलब ये वाला
वो जोन ही पूरा, you know, it's like that. And yes, absolutely, you know, from the Louis Major, and you know, I mean, there have been like some really awesome musicians that have worked and done something very nice for the scene out there.
पर इंडिपेंडेंट म्यूजिक थोड़ा सा सफर हमेशा से ही करता रहा है, बिकॉज ऑफ यू नो लाइक मैक्सिमम जो लोग आर्टिस्ट होते हैं, दे हैव नेवर नोन द बिजनेस एस्पेक्ट ऑफ, और उसके बाद में क्या होता है, जो लोग थोड़ा सा जो लोग बेसिकली बिजनेसमैन है और जिनको बिजनेस एस्पेक्ट पता है, वो इन लोगों को थोड़ा ऐसा इस्तेमाल कर डालते हैं, मतलब ना, एंड देन फिर ग्रेजुअली जब आर्टिस्ट फ्लरिश नहीं कर पाता तो फाइनली वो म्यूजिक नहीं फ्लरिश कर पाता एंड एवरीथिंग.
बट यू नो, इंडिपेंडेंट म्यूजिक, मैं आपसे एक कोर उसकी बात कर रहा हूँ. इंडिपेंडेंट म्यूजिक हैड अ वेरी बिग रोल इन व्हाई बॉलीवुड म्यूजिक इज so different and so nice. So actually how it all started was, like I said, all the good singers and everybody else, you know, were mainly trained in classical. All right. And classical music is not supposed to have harmonies and this and that, you know. So, but जब Bollywood में अगर for public everything has to be produced, it has to have certain things that will attract, you know, people. So these people would call Western musician to do the structurization of a song, to make a structure of a song, and in that structure they would give in the Hindustani classical element. So that amalgamation made
this music
Bollywood
so
how beautiful it is.
Yeah, so rich music.
Yes, so that's how it started, and that is how Bollywood music has always been so different than other commercial forms of music consumed.
अभी भी मतलब बहुत लोग ऐसा है, मैं I'm a big believer in like Bollywood music, and it's not easy to do because इतना सारा अलग अलग जॉनर्स को समेटे हुए है एक ऐसा जॉनर. पीपल है क्या खिचड़ी म्यूजिक है, बट तुम ये सोचो ना, ऐसा म्यूजिक को बैलेंस करना कितना टफ. फ्रॉम अ प्रोड्यूसर स्टैंड पॉइंट, फ्रॉम अ मिक्सिंग इंजीनियर स्टैंड पॉइंट, फ्रॉम अदर आर्टिस्ट का स्टैंड पॉइंट, जिसमें आपको हर इतना सारा चीज को मिला करके एक ऐसी चीज बनानी है, एंड दैट हैज टू साउंड नाइस एज वेल.
Absolutely, yes.
नाइस भी छोड़ो, मतलब फैंटास्टिक लगना चाहिए, ग्रैंड लगना चाहिए, मतलब.
We all know the production qualities of the
जो हम लोग हमारे यहाँ पे इंडस्ट्री में होता है. It's like
absolutely, yes. So well, coming back to this, you know, I'd like to talk about one more great act since we're getting into the 70s. You know, I think ये जो 70s का पूरा era था, majority of this era was backed by one legendary band, which was called the Human Bondage. Human Bondage was considered as the pioneers of the raga rock movement in India.
Okay.
All right. Actually, we can say it in.
So what's like raga rock?
Raga rock is basically a fusion. You know how you would fuse some ragas into the rock music, and you know, and this was a band formed in Bangalore. Again, at that point of time, they were the front runners. They were like very popular. 76 mein they were at the peak, and it was called the Human Bondage. And very popular band. You can like from the image you can see, and again in this image now we're talking about 76 ke aaspas. You can see the difference in the equipment. Now I can see a twin reverb, Fender twin reverb kept. I think this is twin reverb, probably something else, you know. But there's a saxophonist now, there's a drummer, there's a guitar, you know. So from that core sense of things to the very basic sense of how things have started evolving.
Yeah.
So this evolution has led to something very nice. I think every evolution leads to something nice. Here it was this. So Human Bondage was something very nice. And then, you know, things started happening. A couple of bands came and went. But I'd like to talk about two very interesting stories to conclude this. And now I'm straight up jumping to 1985. 1985 mein kya hua? A college in Bombay invited a couple of bands. There was a band called The Rock Machine that was formed in 19 1984. Alright. And actually उनका नाम कुछ और होना था. They were supposed to be called the Rock and Roll Machine. But जो इनका पहला कॉन्सर्ट होना था, the poster did not have enough space. So they called it the Rock Machine. The Roll Machine नहीं, इतने जगह नहीं है कोई. Tell me a name that can fit in this poster, okay?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, Rock and Roll Machine. नाम अब क्या करोगे? Let's call it the Rock Machine. Alright. And the band went on to win some awards for the best music video and all that. By the way, the Rock Machine was...
उस समय में म्यूजिक वीडियो?
Yes. The Rock Machine was, I think, it is arguable, but this is my information, I think the first ever band to tour outside of India.
Oh.
Representing India. It was then the Soviet Union and all that, you know. And the moment they did that, they became the face of Indian rock.
Ah.
These are popular people now. So this, along with another band, was invited to play at the college festival. But then I think it was a Christian college, and rock music was not at that point of time considered to be sacred thing to be done with the Christian community out there. So basically it was, I think, some very orthodox belief that led to this decision of not having them. So Rang Bhavan was a venue where this was shifted to. So the guy who was coordinating with them from the college said, एक काम करते हैं, इसको हम रंग भवन में शिफ्ट कर देते हैं. Bands came in with all their equipments and all that, and this guy is nowhere to be found. जिसने organize किया. Alright, so they didn't know what to do, and they're like, now since we are here and there are people here, let's just go and do it. This was how the most legendary and the most beautiful concerts, music festival, whatever we can call it, in India started, which is called the Independence Rock.
Okay.
This is how it started, and it went on for 30 years. Then after that, something very sad happened. I think after 30 years, the government of Bombay had put that zone of Rang Bhavan into a silence zone because there was a school and there was a hospital near to it, and all that, happened, and the place was shut. Till today, people mourn having lost that beautiful venue. Because, like I said, whatever happened there might not be professional, but it led to something that was so passionate. So this was the beautiful starting of the I-Rock, the Independence Rock. Again, in 1985, you will not believe, in Bombay, there was a concert. Alright, it can be called a music festival because people like Remo Fernandez, the Rock Machine, they all played there. It was called the 8 Bhopal. This was done to collect funds, basically a contribution or a charity, we can say, for the Bhopal gas tragedy that happened. More than 10,000 people attended a show there. Imagine, I'm talking about 1980s. Even today, it is very difficult to, of course today it's impossible because of the COVID times, but let's talk about pre-COVID era. 10,000 people flocked in, and huge sums of money were raised, and was donated to, I think, the Mother Teresa charity or something. I'm forgetting the exact name. But again, these are beautiful moments. Right? And the Rock Machine later went on and they evolved, and they are now called the Indiscreet.
Oh, Indiscreet.
Right? Yes. They're now called the Indiscreet. And in fact, their first album was called Evolve, right? Of Indiscreet. It was because of this reason, because it was an evolution of...
Indiscreet का music वाकई में बहुत तगड़ा है.
Yes, and I'm talking about, this is called the Rock and Roll Machine. The Rock Machine actually. They were supposed to be called the Rock and Roll Machine, So that's how I think the evolution has been. And then after that, I think the 90s started it. The 90s with it brought some sort of modernization and pop.
और मेरे ख्याल से इतने सालों में लोग को थोड़ा समझ में भी आ गया था कि थोड़ा पैसा वैसा है इसमें, थोड़ा कमर्शियल है यार. Started working.
Yes, so that's how it has been, and then rest is a history that we all know of. The evolution, how it came and went away, So in the 90s, more than anything else, because the basics were sorted, the videos became a new trend. Everybody wanted to be on MTV, everybody wanted to be in Channel V, and then MTV, Channel V, starting of 2000 turned 100% Bollywood. Absolute failure of the independent music circuit in India. It was over. It was all over.
जब हम लोग छोटे थे तो उस समय जैसे ये इंडिपेंडेंट आर्टिस्ट थे, तो जब अलीशा चिनाय और ये लोग लॉन्च हुए थे मेड इन इंडिया एंड ऑल,
पॉप आर्टिस्ट,
पॉप काफी बढ़िया है मतलब. और उस टाइम के हिसाब से फिर लोग क्या भयंकर कितना पैसा खर्चा किया होगा उस वीडियो.
They were bigger than one of the greatest Bollywood acts today. They were, Alisha Chennai at one point of time was bigger than Maybe Vishal Dadlani today.
Maybe
yes.
और दूसरा बात ये है कि कंपेयर ऐसा करना फेयर भी नहीं होगा, like this are
different
times.
No, only in terms of scale, I mean, only in terms of the popularity, not music. Yeah,
popularity बहुत bang करता है.
Yes, absolutely. Music we can't compare.
अरे एक मजेदार बात ये है कि उस टाइम का म्यूजिक में ये था कि like काफी डिटेल में भी काम कर रहे थे लोग, एंड जो हम लोग सुनते भी थे, like एक गाना कैसा रिपीट में चलता है.
Oh yes.
है ना, तो जो ऑडियंस है उसको मतलब उस गाने का हर एक मतलब पूरा कितना बीट कितना ऊपर उठा होगा और कितना नीचे गया होगा, क्या रहा होगा, सब पता है उसको.
Channel V and MTV, they would play one song and they will not let you think of anything else. This is the amount of which the reputation इतनी ज़्यादा आएगी उस चीज़ की. And then this was a point of time when the whole circuit of music labels was growing up, and everything was lovely. And
so to conclude this, let's talk about कि अभी का जो scenario है, and you are doing all this independent kind of music and stuff. तो क्या लगता है कि क्या करना चाहिए? How all this evolving new artists and how they should approach, कैसे अपना ऑडियो करें, वीडियो करें, और कैसे शोज रिलीज, और क्या आपके हिसाब से क्या मेरे हिसाब से तो और भी बहुत सारे एक्स्ट्रा पॉइंट्स होंगे, बिकॉज आई कम फ्रॉम अ वेरी डिफरेंट जॉनर ऑफ दिस इंडस्ट्री. तो आपके हिसाब से फ्रॉम अ लाइव like entrepreneur's perspective, क्या क्या ऑप्शंस हो सकते हैं that they can focus on, which is going to evolve usually, मतलब eventually which is going to evolve, as well as जिसको वो करके commercially वो successful भी हो सकता है.
I think the theory here is that I work with a lot of artists, over 100 acts, and this is something that I always believe in, कि जब तक आप replaceable हैं, तब तक आपकी कभी growth नहीं हो.
Fact.
All right. So today you might be a band that is playing you might be a local band that is playing in clubs and pubs, certain private events, and you're doing cover music.
और लगभग आपको पैसा भी आ रहा हो.
आपको normal पैसा आ रहा है. So you go, you do 10 shows and you say that, you know what, actually whenever I play, people like my music. ठीक है? So this is something good. You play 5 more shows and you observe this trend is going on and I'm liked. Then you go to the venue owner or a event guy or whoever is hiring you for a particular show, and you tell them that, boss, you know what, today I'm charging 10,000 rupees, but whenever I play, people like my music. So today, now I'm going to charge 15,000. This is what, for example, you come and tell me as an artist, you are an artist, I'm a venue owner, okay? And you tell me that, Akshay, I want to charge 15,000. I will give you a typical quote unquote, I will get back to you. What I will then do is, I will leave you aside and I will pick this guy up, who is now starting up. Even he says well.
और हो सकता है कि उसको अभी 10 नहीं 5 ही देना पड़ेगा.
हाँ, exactly. जो आप मेरे से 2 साल पहले चार्ज कर रहे थे, वो मैं उसको अब दूंगा, क्योंकि 2 साल पहले जो आपका फेज था, वो इसका फेज है. The idea is they are doing the same music. जो किशोर कुमार के और अरिजीत सिंह के सॉन्ग्स आप गा रहे थे, वो भी यही गा रहा है. My audience there, they at this point of time do not want to listen to you, maybe. They want to listen to those songs. Maybe if they want to listen to you, their loyalty is so vulnerable कि the moment they find somebody better, they'll go.
हाँ, जाहिर सी बात है कि हो सकता है कि आप जो गाने गा रहे थे, जिनके कवर कर रहे थे, किसी और के आवाज में जो नया बंदा है, वो ज्यादा अच्छा लग रहा है, और ऊपर से फ्रेश लग रहा है, खास बात है.
मैं ये नहीं कहता कि 100% लगा, but vulnerability वही है, you know. So certain bands do grow as a cover band, but they do the same covers with a twist. Either they make the performance very energetic, all right, or they bring in some structural changes, and that's how it happens. Now, versus somebody who's, let's say, let me take it to the extreme, let's say they're doing original music. Let's take, for example, let's say Indian Ocean. All right, Indian Ocean is one of the most legendary bands in the country. Now they could grow because nobody could replace them. Nobody could do what they are doing. I can never say Indian Ocean को छोड़ो, इसको बुला लेते हैं. Same music तो है. That's not there. Indian Ocean is Indian Ocean. So if I want to call Indian Ocean, yesterday I was paying 2 lakhs. Today I am paying 3.5 lakhs. Tomorrow maybe I will play 5. You know, whatever.
Option नहीं है मतलब.
Yes, option नहीं है कोई. So that is where the monopoly comes in. That is where you bypass that perfect competition that is involving the majority of the art. So this is my advice. This is my belief as far as, you know, the growth of an artist is concerned. If you want to grow, I understand everybody cannot make original music. It is not a forced thing. If it is a forced thing, you will not be able to do it. अगर आप original music भी बना रहे हैं, make sure it is good music.
हाँ, मतलब एकदम टॉप नॉच होना चाहिए उसका, राइट अप से लेकर के कॉम्पोजिशन से लेके एंटायर प्रोडक्शन उसका, जब वो, क्योंकि आप तो लाइव कर रहे हो उसका अलग, मतलब वो जितना अच्छा हो सकता है एज एन लाइव उतना अच्छा होना चाहिए.
Exactly.
प्लस जो फाइनल प्रोडक्ट है एज इन द रिकॉर्डिंग एंड द वीडियो एंड ऑल दोस काइंड ऑफ सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग.
Yes, so it's a long process, and like Sushmit Sen once told me that a composition is never complete.
Fact.
Right, a composition is never complete because आप उसको जितनी बार बैठेंगे उसको लेके, you will have a different vision in mind, you will have a different thoughts in mind. So I think this is the clear cut thing that I believe in, कि अगर आपको इस zone में grow करना है तो these are certain bullet points that we have to have in mind.
right? उसको बस complete करने का है, बस कैसे
complete. हाँ जी, yes, तो the concluding statement here will be कि जब तक आप replaceable हैं तब तक आपकी growth मुश्किल है. There will be a lot of arguments on this कि हाँ किसी ने grow कर लिया, that's all possible, like majority theory.
हाँ, तो then there is also this thing ना कि जैसे कि काफी लोग होते हैं कि किसी और के कंधे पे बंदूक चला के काम चला लेते हैं. बट आप अगर वही माइंडसेट से चलोगे तो ऐसा थोड़ी है कि मेजॉरिटी लोग ऐसे नहीं सक्सेसफुल होते. कुछ लोग जो ऐसे सक्सेसफुल हो जाते हैं दूसरा का टैलेंट इस्तेमाल करके या दूसरों को चीट करके वो करके, उन लोग का एग्जांपल हम बड़ी आसानी से देख लेते हैं, बोले कि ऐसा ही करके देखते हो. बट मैक्सिमम लोग जो ये काम करते हैं इस तरीके से करते हैं, they get unsuccessful.
Yes, absolutely. And की डेट में a lot of bands are launching EPs and LPs, and it's good to see this is happening. It's good to see LPs तो नहीं आती. By the way, if you know, ये जो EPs का पूरा कल्चर स्टार्ट हुआ था, EPs का जो मतलब होता है LPs का जो मतलब होता है, आई एम श्योर ये सबने टर्म्स सुने होंगे, LP and EP. LP came in before EP.
Long play and
extended play.
Right.
And long play को इसलिए long play बुलाया करते थे क्योंकि तब एक साइड में एक ही गाना होता था वाइनल डिस्क में, ग्रामोफोन में जो प्ले होता था, and for a very long period of time the same song would just go on and on. So it's called a long play.
बहुत ज़्यादा songs रख सकते थे.
That was extended play. That was EP.
Okay.
That is EP. Yes. So that's where you're coming. You're right. That is EP because from a long play, one song playing on and on, there came a couple of songs that could be played within the same disc. So that was extended.
Extended.
So they started calling it extended play. EP. तो आज की डेट में भी of course in a digital format EPs have started coming in because
50 गाने भी डाल दो तो कोई मैटर नहीं करता.
जनरली 3-4 गानों का उसको लोग EP बुलाते हैं, and then that's the basic format जो हमेशा से चला आ रहा है because at that point of time an EP would have these many songs क्योंकि वो डिस्क होती थी, लिमिटेड स्पेस होती थी उसमें, this and that, so ये भी एक एवोल्यूशन है अपने आप में. दिस इज अ डिफरेंट, अगर इसमें चाहे तो वी कैन मेक अ डिफरेंट सीरीज ऑल टुगेदर. ये टेक्नोलॉजी कैसे इवॉल्व हुई है.
बाय द वे, स्पीकिंग ऑफ EPs, इस साल मैं कुछ EPs लॉन्च कर रहा हूँ in different languages. One is a Bengali EP that actually happened to me accidentally.
Wow.
And fantastic songs, like बहुत अलग अलग.
It's like all original songs.
All original.
Lovely.
And मतलब वो ऐसे बना and it's like जैसे कि ना बच्चे को चॉकलेट मिल गया, ऐसी वाली खुशी है ना, मतलब कि अचानक से वो. उसमें 2 लव सॉन्ग है, kind of sort of love song. One is a motivational song, one is a sort of devotional song, and one is a song that I wrote for my father. So like 5 songs. काफी हद तक काम हो गया. There is one Punjabi EP as well.
Oh wow.
And there are 2 Hindi EPs and 1 English EP. मतलब in the back end.
क्या बात है.
So इस साल I hope that I will be able.
And you're collaborating with some awesome artists.
हाँ, काफी सारे आर्टिस्ट के साथ में भी मैं कोलैबोरेट कर रहा हूँ कुछ EPs में अपने. मजा आएगा. I think this is going to be a nice year for everyone.
Let's hope for the best. Yes. काफी दुख देख लिया है. The other day I was on a call with my friend और मैंने उससे कुछ पूछा. मैंने कहा यार कुछ गड़बड़, मतलब नहीं, कुछ हम बात कर रहे थे, मैंने पूछा यार कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं होगी. वो बोलते कि अब और क्या गड़बड़ होगी. जो भगड़े चल रही है अभी, इससे ज्यादा बुरा क्या हो सकता है ये बता, अब और होगा क्या. मैंने कहा पॉइंट तो है भाई, चलो. No, I'm forgetting what we were talking about, but yes, this is
anyway,
a reference.
So let's conclude this episode, and I hope that you guys had something to take away. Basically, हमारा मकसद हमेशा इस चैनल पे रहता था, a better musician every day. तो मतलब मैं हमेशा ही इस चीज़ में इंटरेस्टेड रहता हूँ कि जैसे कि ये जो मेरे को बातें नहीं पता थी, you came and you told me यार, तो like थोड़ा सा betterment आया. बोला अच्छा ऐसा भी. And in music and video या जो भी हम चीज़ें कर रहे हैं, तो every day थोड़ा better होना चाहिए. And that's the idea behind making this channel.
Lovely. And I must say it's a very noble cause, and that, you know, I think a lot of people will have a lot to take away from this channel and from the different sort of.
So that is why, you know, like we have a broader prospect of content in here as well. कि बहुत अलग-अलग type की चीजें कर सकते हैं. बीच में I was interviewing multiple people over Zoom calls as well, like people who have worked in industry या जिनसे मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें. Like I will also continue to do those sorts of things. कल हमारी ये बात हुई तो I thought, yeah, this is a like really nice idea. And by the way, if you guys really like this kind of things, do let us know in the comment section, क्योंकि भाई साहब के पास में बहुत सारा है, मतलब ऐसा मसाला जो हम लोग grab in कर सकते हैं.
If you don't like it, even then we like to know and improve. So yeah.
That's true. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.
See you guys.
Will you see me? Please write yes in the comment section. Okay. Take care. धन्यवाद और नमस्कार.
Namaskar.
हर पल दिल मेरा सजदा करता है, दिन रात तेरे बारे में सोचा करता है. तेरी खुशबू अब मेरे सांसों संग चलती है.